Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about, in my opinion, the worst astrological degrees. And anyway, one of the worst astrological degrees, I think, is pretty obvious. I think a lot of people would concur with this, is the fixed star algol. And this position can really give a character or demeanor that could be rather recalcitrant, belligerent, and even acerbic and volatile. There's one person that comes to mind with this. At least he showed this on the basketball court. Many of you may have remembered, sports fans may have remembered Bill Laimbeer. He played for the Detroit Pistons, and he was one of the bad boys. They call it the bad boys, that team, and for obvious reasons. And he was constantly instigating fights with other players. He seemed to have a rather, I guess you could say, disputatious nature, and he seemed rather combative and constantly was getting into it with different players. And his ascendant position is at 25 degrees and 50 minutes of arc of Taurus, which is very close to the algol fixed star position. And another person that comes to mind is that cult leader, his name was Marshall Applewhite, and this position can be about perhaps supplanting one's beliefs with another belief or belief system. And I think this man took this to certainly another level. Now, his sun sign was at 25 degrees Taurus. He was very close to the algol fixed star position. And with him, I think he certainly took that to another level in terms of trying to supplant belief systems with another, and he got other people. He manipulated a number of people and led to a number of suicides because of this. And this position could also, I think, at times in a very negative manifestation, make one somewhat delusional and have feelings of invincibility. And according to something on Wikipedia.org, Marshall Applewhite, he had intimated that he may have been a reincarnation of Jesus. Now, you could look that up on Wikipedia.org, and I thought that was very interesting. So anyway, well, the next degree in astrology I think is really adverse and bad is 15 degrees 15 degrees Leo. And at 15 degrees Leo seems like it could often give a really propensity for some strong debilitation, whether it's mental or physical or both. I had a prominent family member that had 15 degrees Mercury in Leo, or very close to that, depending on his time of birth, which was unknown to me. He had that Mercury in Leo at or near 15 degrees in Leo, conjunct Neptune in the 12th house of mental emotional illness, and he had delusions of grandeur. And I thought it was very interesting that he had this. And also, a friend of mine had ascendant at Leo at or near 15 degrees. Depending on exact time of birth, approximate time may give 16. It may have been 15, but anyway, he had an accident in which he had lost I can't remember exactly, his whole leg or part of it. And it just seems like this could be a very adverse position for tribulation and adversity one may have to go through. And anyway, the thing, now another really bad degree I think is 29 degrees Cancer. Now, when you're at 29th degree, of course, that's an anaretic degree, and it could represent very strong upheaval and crisis, and it also can represent, in my opinion, at least the full culmination of that sign. So this could give somebody a rather a very strong emotional nature, extreme sensitivity to what's going on around them. And I also, and their life may be crisis filled, connected with their home and family life. There could be, this person might be very peripatetic, to say the least. I had a prominent family member that has Cancer ascendant at 29 degrees, and she has been constantly moving and going from one place to another. She had the relationships with a number of her family members were rather contentious, and I think a lot of that too is attributed also to the fact she has her Mars at 29 degrees Cancer as well, and conjunct the ascendant, of course. And anyway, that's and that 29 degrees Cancer is not, I mean, I do believe that can be one of the worst degrees, and especially if it makes a number of adverse aspects, which she had, and one of them was her chart ruler, the moon, in Capricorn, in its detriment, making an opposition to her Cancer 29 degree ascendant. Well, anyway, another really adverse, I'd say degrees, or I should say degrees in general, not, I mean, it's the 22nd degree for all signs, but the fixed signs, except, I mean, especially because you're looking at a critical degree as well. And the 22nd degree of signs, and really especially the fixed signs, can be, I think, a very strong point of adversity, and really person, it could be impacted very adversely, very negatively by this. And I mean, I have 22 degrees Taurus rising, as I've said before in a number of my other videos, and I've gone through financial misfortune for a good part of my life, and on my ascendant also has a number of adverse aspects that are made to it. And Abraham Lincoln, according, I mean, it was a B rating on Astro.com, but Abraham Lincoln had his ascendant at 22 degrees Aquarius, and he was assassinated. Now, another person that comes to mind with 22 degrees, he actually has the same position. I mean, as far as the degree goes, he has Taurus ascendant at 22 degrees. Someone you may have heard of him, name is Christophe. I don't know if I'm saying the last name right. Rocancourt. He was somebody, was a notorious scammer and imposter, and he even had apparently had bribed some people in order to extricate himself from possible jail time. And imagine bribery in Taurus. I mean, going in a negative manifestation, of course, Taurus, that is one of the things Taurus may do in order to try to get themselves out of some difficulty. And anyway, the 22nd degree is generally, I mean, not good. It could indicate some prominence on a positive level if you could work through it, the negatives of this degree. But anyway, now another very negative degree, I think, is 29 degrees Pisces. Now, of course, you're looking at the anaretic degree, again, the crisis upheaval degree of a sign, also the full culmination of the zodiac sign. So when you look at this could, I mean, Pisces emotions can be all-encompassing, and if you have the 29th degree, this is like really in full throttle. This is a very strong expression of that energy. And being that it's a crisis upheaval degree, this could be a person that might be in that perpetual crisis mode, perhaps in dealing with a lot of chaos in their life, and maybe the crisis element could strongly be attributed in a lot of cases to maybe dealing with this Pisces-like energy of maybe being deceived, and things connected with betrayal, maybe them being deceived by and conned and by the wrong people. And the thing too is that in this degree too, I think can often people may condemn a lot of these people that have this degree, maybe due to having, and in their opinion, perhaps some outlandish type beliefs and philosophies. And these people that have this degree may often feel, well, they really believe what it is they're thinking, and in some times it may be accurate. They think of themselves maybe as being a nonconformist, while but how other people may see their viewpoints as somewhat outlandish or even really preposterous at times. So this is that is the 29th degree of Pisces is really something where I think could be rather adverse, and especially if you have it strongly afflicted in your natal chart. Now, and when I'm talking about a lot of these degrees, a lot of this, mainly is, the sun, moon, and ascendant is what generally is prominent, and I think people will feel the effect strongest if their sun, moon, or ascendant is in any of the degrees I've been talking about. But even personal points as well that are not the sun, moon, or ascendant, like I was saying before, the person I was telling about had the Mercury at or near 15 degrees Leo, and I felt that might have affected him adversely. So anyway, now another position which I see is really adverse, really degree as far as a degree goes, is 25 degrees Leo. This could give a real, I think, a strong, volatile, and truculent nature and demeanor. Now, serial killer Ted Bundy, he has his ascendant at 25 degrees Leo, and another person that comes to mind, O.J. Simpson, he has his ascendant, it's not at 25 degrees Leo, but very close, 24 degrees and 37 minutes of arc in Leo. Now, as many of you may know, he was on trial, what some people were calling the trial of the century, and he was acquitted. But a lot of people are still suspicious that he did indeed murder Nicole Brown Simpson. A lot of people thought he got away with murder, literally, but at the same time, he also, what we do know, that he had actually subjected Nicole Brown Simpson to a lot of physical abuse, and it was very persistent over a long period of time. So this degree could be really rather volatile if expressed in its worst expression. And anyway, well, another very negative degree in astrology, I think, is 29 degrees Aries. Now, of course, 29 degrees, again, we're talking about the anaretic or critical degree of the sign, and this degree can be about crisis and upheaval. This could also give a very strong acrimonious and disputatious nature. The person may be rather egocentric, and their interests can often take precedence over those of others, and because of that, those people that they might have ignored during their time that they needed the assistance might well turn on this person because given the fact that this person might have been oblivious to their needs when they needed assistance. And this person can be in some kind of a crisis, perpetual crisis upheaval mode, and a lot of that may be attributed to having perhaps one dispute and one confrontation after another, a lot of arguments with others. So, and those are some things to look at as far as that degree goes. Now, last but not least, I think what could be a very adverse or negative degree in astrology is Serpentis is at 19 degrees Scorpio. This star could be rather malevolent, and this is something, Charles Manson had 19 degrees Scorpio sun, and another woman was prominent in my life many years ago. She had her sun not far, sun sign degree not far from this 19 degrees of Serpentis, and it seemed like she was really constantly, whether malicious or not, causing a lot of trouble and friction for family members and causing a lot of dissension. So this is really something that could be very negative. Now, this degree does not persist, and I think maybe that could be somewhat symbolic with the nature of this person. Given that Scorpio is a fixed sign, this could be a position where people can be perhaps really super intransigent as far as their belief system goes, their philosophies and opinions, and sometimes it could be better or for worse depending on what those beliefs are. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the worst astrological degrees, and stay tuned next time where I'll be continuing my series on the Juno in the houses. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.